Hello, my name is Tony Luong and csc110. Today I made a PowerPoint of the Decorated Cube project, and I'll be explaining how I went along with my project and how I came up with the whole pattern, or how I came up with doing the pattern. So yeah, please, YouTube link coming soon. And I start off with the basic turtle functions: import turtle, identify my turtle, got the screen going, and set my drawing speed to 0, and then made my pen color black so it'd be easier to see the lines of the pattern and basically the fold lines between separate patterns. And looking at this, make the pattern. That's what I make the pattern, then 4x4. That's part of the instructions. And so yeah, just switch the colors and custom pattern. And so I chose pattern A, and looking at pattern A, I see that there's squares and rectangles, so I did just that. I made a basic square function with all the same size, and then I also made a rectangle function with width and height. Basically, all of these I can just adjust proportionately to each other, so that was great. And then for part of pattern A, looking from the top, it just basically makes a rectangle, and then I stack two squares underneath. So I just did that. Made the rectangle and then made two squares next to each other underneath. Made the size half of the width, or maybe equal to the height of the rectangle. So, and then basically seeing that, looking back at pattern A, it just rotates. I decided to make a rotation function, which right here, basically every time it rotates, it makes the same pattern, previous pattern, which forms part of the pattern A before. So right here, as you can see, it rotates every time and it makes a new pattern. And then basically, in order to fill the color, I just basically, every time it draws an individual shape, I would just have it fill a specific color each time. That way it would every time just fill the color as I just change or add on to the pattern to complete the pattern, total pattern, overall pattern. So yeah, I did that, rotation, and then it makes part of the pattern A. And then putting the pattern together or next to each other, because it's a 3x3 of the smaller pattern, I decided to make a next two patterns so they would make like a row of the pattern. So here's what I got. So after making the pattern, I would look at basically the starting point at which it was drawn. So we'll start right around there, and then I would reposition it, and then basically just move it a certain point. That's basically what next to pattern A is. Maybe next to, and starts off a new pattern, etc., etc. And then basically, yeah, and then next part of my pattern, I decided to make a function that would make the next row of 3, because it's a 3x3 for pattern A. And then, so I would reposition it starting from where it would end, and then I would move it back a certain amount of sizes. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like 3 more, so like size 12, and then goes down a certain size, going, and then basically readjust it so it would draw this row again. An angle, yeah. So then I would end up with this full pattern A, this whole A. So I would combine the row full pattern A and next row pattern A, and it would just draw pattern A. And the next step of that would be to draw or make the 4x4 of the pattern A. So which again, I kind of took note of where it was from before and then readjusted. Actually, I didn't readjust it at all for this because it's kind of in the perfect position. So all I did was make a for loop that basically would make for height of the 4x4 pattern of pattern A. So basically all I had to do was, yeah, just make it into a column. So column 4x4 pattern A. And then next would be to make the next 3 rows. So this is the part where I would have to readjust. So counting the height starting from where it is drawn, I would reposition it, and I would have to make it go a certain height because it starts at a certain height and it draws the pattern full column. So I would have to readjust it and make my next helper function next column 4x4 pattern A, and then it would basically just readjust every time it finishes a column, and then it starts the next column every time. Yeah. And then there's the complete 4x4 of pattern A. Pattern B is basically similar, except, oh wait, yeah, pattern A2 is all I had to do was really change the fill color after I basically make just switch the fill color and just rename the pattern. And then for pattern B, basically what I saw was that there were rectangles and squares, so I had to make like a double rectangle function and then make a square function after that. And I can see that it kind of rotates the double rectangle function. The square function doesn't really change at all much, so took that in mind. And then I made my double rectangle function. I didn't really want to draw them individually because I didn't really think that I want the 2 rectangles to be separate colors, so I just made them individual, like into a single function of rectangles. So after that, I would then just have to draw the square, rotate my turtle in a way it would draw like the double rectangle sideways. So that's exactly what I did. And then I resulted in this. And again, I would fill my color individually for each shape I make. And then next, I would have to do the same process again. Kind of take note where it is at the end, and then kind of readjust it where it started drawing the pattern, like right here. So I would kind of have to move it to a certain point that would draw the same pattern again, and then put it in a for loop of 3. It would just basically finish off like the row of my 3x3 of pattern B. And then after that, I would readjust it again to the same starting position of which it would start the row, and then do a for loop of 3 again. So my next row pattern B function, and then do for loop of 3, and then basically, yeah, it does the same thing again, and done for pattern 3x3 of my pattern B, or my pattern B, whole pattern B. And then still the 4x4. I don't know, I just like making columns and then making rows of the columns, so that was easier. So that's exactly what I did. So noting the position where it started off, which was kind of perfect, so I didn't really adjust it much or at all. So I just made a for loop, a range of 4, and it would just make a whole column of the 4 height column of pattern B. And then going to the next row is when I would have to readjust, so I made a separate function for that. Next column, 4x4 pattern B, so the same thing as pattern A, so I just readjusted it in a different position because it starts off maybe a little bit different. And yeah, and basically every time it finishes a column, readjusts, makes a column, readjusts, makes a column, readjusts, makes a column, and it finishes the 4x4 pattern B. And then pattern B2 is basically all I did was take the full part pattern B, and then basically just switch the colors as it would make individual shapes, and that's basically it. And then rename it to full pattern B2, and then yeah, just switch the colors. Yep, and Pattern C, I kind of didn't really know what I was going to do. It was kind of hard to decide what your custom pattern is. So I just decided to maybe make something similar to the last pattern, but like different. So I wanted maybe like a 4x4 inside my 3x3 pattern. So that's exactly what I did. So I made a square, and then basically all I did was kind of like rotate the square, and I would make this for 2x2 of a pattern of squares. And after that I would make another square, and then basically get to the right position and makes the other for 2x2 squares. So this was kind of a weird pattern because it kind of starts off in the middle, so I kind of had to readjust it according to the middle to make my row. So next to pattern C, again same thing as before. I just readjusted it so it would make a next row of pattern C. So right there, and I just had the two functions together in a range of 3. It would make the full row 3x3 of pattern C, and then I would have to do the same thing, make a next row function, readjust the position that it would draw my pattern in a 3x3 full pattern C, and combine the two functions, and then yeah, that's it. And then again, the 4x4 of my pattern C is basically the same concept. I made a column range of 4. It was in a perfect position, so I don't have to adjust much. And then I have to reposition it next to columns of pattern C, and then it would just draw the whole column. Makes a column, readjusts, makes a column, readjusts, makes a column, readjusts. And then for pattern C2, I basically did the same thing as last time. Reverse the colors, rename it, and then rename it, and it's basically done. Alright, and then basically to draw the whole thing faster, I got the tip from a professor. Yep, have to use tracer and little want to update, and then basically yeah, it draws the whole thing without refreshing. So that was pretty cool. Something I learned turtle. And then looking at the layout, it would have to be A, B, A2, B, C, and then C2. So basically all I did was have to draw A and then reposition it so it would draw B, reposition it so it would draw A, reposition it so it would draw B, reposition it so it would draw C, reposition it so it would draw C2, etc. And yeah, that's exactly what I did. So we draw pattern A first, reposition it, and then draw pattern B, reposition again, draw pattern A2, reposition, yeah, etc., etc., B2, reposition C, reposition C2, and then I would just have a fruitless function, pattern Q. And then here's the result. I just added like the letters so that it would be easier to kind of see maybe. But yeah, it's the finished pattern cube. Now all I had to do was complete the skeleton by making the little dips, which I don't really know much how to like kind of do them. That was all out of creativity, so my thought process was to take a hexagon, cut it in half, and then connect the bottom. That was basically my thought process. So that's exactly what I did. I named it glue tab because it was supposed to be a glue tab. So for range of 3 instead of range of 6, I would do 360 divided by 6 and make this, and then I would angle it so that it would face the other side, and then it would just complete it. I don't think I had to do that, but I did it though, so yeah. And then for the pattern cube, I would, with the glue tab, I would make the pattern cube, reposition it so that it would be in the right position to draw the glue tabs. Reposition again, draw the glue tabs, reposition again, draw the glue tabs, etc., etc., etc. And so this is what I ended up with as my last pattern.